Pope Francis spoke of many issues during his trip to America, plenty of which were seen by some as being out of his wheelhouse and not really proper for the leader of the Catholic Church to speak on. In the end, a lot of this discussion comes down to a pope who believes he speaks for mankind, and scientists who see him meddling in national and international affairs. So let's try to make some sense between the two. Our guest is president of the Population Research Institute and the author of Population Control: Real Costs and Illusory Benefits, Stephen Mosher. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us, and I want to get right to an article that you wrote in the New York Post where your question was, do the Pope and I live on the same planet? What is it about what the Pope said that just bit at you and you had to go ahead and question?
Well, you know, I have to tell you that I'm a Catholic, and I think the Pope has a direct line to heaven on matters of faith and morals. But unfortunately, he doesn't on matters of climate change. I think he was very badly advised by the Pontifical Academy of Sciences, which helped him put together the recent encyclical, which claimed that climate change was not just a theory, but a fact. I'm an oceanographer by training. I've been looking at historical climate issues for a long time. And it's not at all clear to me that the oceans are going to rise by a foot or two over the next century. It's not at all clear to me that the temperature is going to rise by a degree or two over the next century. But even if those projections turn out to be correct, that does not change the fact that, for example, every day in the United States, we have 4,000 babies killed by abortion. So if you're talking about the immediate problem that we ought to be dealing with, there are problems concerning marriage. There are problems concerning the definition of marriage given to us by Christ himself. Problems concerning the wanton taking of human life in abortion and euthanasia. Those are the issues that I would like to hear Pope Francis addressing all the time.
Well, let me play devil's advocate if I can, Stephen. Devil's advocate here. Because the Pope speaks not only just for one side, but the Pope always believes, at least this one does, that he speaks for a planet. And he is trying to say the right things that morally may help the planet. I get you. There's a lot of things he didn't talk about, and even I'm upset about a few things. But still, when he talks about the fact that we need to worry about, at least not fix it right away, but worry about things like climate change, worry about overpopulation, worry about things like that. There are those right now, for instance, the Center for Biological Diversity says we're in the midst of the 6th mass extinction of plants and animals right now. There's numerous numbers that talk about how we are missing species right now and how, simply put, we can't afford to put more people on the planet. Yet you disagree with that. But isn't it fair to say that's his job? At least get it out there and get the conversation started.
Well, I don't think so. I think the Pope is not trained in scientific matters, and he's listening to advice from people who are, quite frankly, far removed from the Catholic Church on these matters, have no respect for the Church. The radical environmentalists, of course, have been warning us that the sky is falling for some time. And these theories, and they're only theories, have been used to carry out a war on people in the name of curing something called overpopulation. Well, I've got news for them. There's plenty of room on God's green earth for all of us. We can feed twice as many people as we currently have on the planet.
Okay, but I'm going to get ahead, and if you don't mind, I'm going to get in here something else too, because I only got a couple of minutes. I want to make sure we get this out. We can't feed the people that we have on the planet now. Would you fair to say that there's a lot of starvation in the planet? So if you add more people, then how do you come up with the food to grow, the place to grow, fish to actually feed people, beef population that's out there? How do you come up with all these things if you add more people?
Well, you've got hunger in the world, but hunger is caused by civil unrest, civil strife. There are people starving in Syria, not because they can't grow food, but because they're in the middle of a civil war, which has made it impossible for them to farm. And so they're fleeing the country by the millions. And that's what you see all over the world. The reason we don't have a global problem with food production, we have a problem with food distribution, especially in areas where there's civil unrest and war going on.
Okay, then isn't it fair to say, and again, everything you're bringing up here and the things that we're talking about here, at least we have a conversation beginning, because I don't think the Pope believes that, I mean, he does have a master's in chemistry, at least. He's an educated man. Maybe he doesn't believe that he's right on everything, but at least he's getting people like you and I out there to discuss and then find those solutions for food distribution and also how we feed the population. Not a bad idea, right?
Well, it's not a bad idea if you understand the miracle of the free market, if you don't endorse statist solutions to these problems. Socialism produces poverty. It doesn't produce food and other goods. And so what we need is an understanding, and I hope that Pope Francis began to come to grips with this during his visit to the United States. This was his first trip to our country. I hope that he saw the enormous wealth that has been produced by the free market in this country, which has benefited not just the wealthy in this country, but the poor as well. Poor people in this country have a standard of living that is twice as high as the average standard of living in his native country of Argentina. I hope that Pope Francis now understands that. I hope that he understands that the U.S. has been a tremendous force for good in the world and has helped dozens of countries like Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, Europe after World War II to rise from the ashes and join the ranks of the developed nations.
And all you're saying is correct. Unfortunately, we are out of time. Stephen, this is a fascinating conversation. And again, the Pope got us talking about it. We will have to do it again in the future. Stephen, thanks so much for joining us. Coming up next, right here, the political animal waits in the wings. Joe Biden, Al Gore, and the Secret Service. We'll cover it all on The Hardline.